Oh boy. Oh boy. Oh boy. That was scary. Oh boy. Wallabies versus Japan. First home game for Japan since 2019. Oh boy. I did not expect Japan to be this good, to be honest. So, Japan had a tour to Europe earlier this year and lost to basically Wales and Ireland to their B teams. I was expecting this to be a much bigger win for the Wallabies, a much easier game for the Wallabies. And man, I'm just so glad, I'm so glad the Wallabies were not the next team to fall to Japan in international stage, okay? Woo! That was so close. That was so close. When Quay threw that cutout pass, that intercept Quay threw, I was so furious. I thought it was gonna happen. I thought Japan was gonna beat the Wallabies. Oh man. Literally I had a heart attack. I could not watch when that happened. But yeah, congratulations to Japan. Another really good, impressive performance by the Brave Blossoms, and the Wallabies got quite a bit of work to do. A few players been injured, coming back from a break. He is showing the rust a little bit. So first up, the grass in Japan. Is it just me? Or the grass is like brown, okay? I don't know why, but it's, yeah, it looked like they're just playing on mud in the field there. And second of all, this is the perfect tweet today. Just the tweet of the day. Oh, let me just quickly post this so I don't get demonetized. Tweet of the best tweet of the day. All right. So Stan Sport, the broadcast for this match, and this tweeted out this thing. This try has everything. This is what they tweeted out, and the best reply, everything except free to air viewers. This was behind a bloody paywall. This was awful for Rugby Australia. If the national team, your biggest draw, is not free, I don't know how you're gonna grow the game. Like honestly, honestly, here's the thing, right? If the next few games against Scotland, England, and Wales, if those games are not free, if you have to pay to watch those games, I'm going to go down to Rugby Australia. They're just like 10 minutes down the street from me. I'm going to go down to Rugby Australia and have a word with them. Because this is not acceptable. This is absolutely not acceptable for the national team to not be free. Like the first tweet, nailed them on the head. Everything except free to air viewers. And yeah, it seems like rugby is still a sport that's available to the rich and privileged in the country of Australia. So yeah, we need to get that fixed. It's absolutely appalling. Anyway, let's get back onto the game. So Hunter Paisami came back for an injured Samu Kerevi. Looked a little bit rusty. He literally threw some of the passes he was throwing was not really going to hands. Quade Cooper seemed a bit flat this game in terms of being too flat in receiving the ball, and also just being a little bit trying to push those players a little bit too much, a little bit at times, and look a little bit shaky. The kicking game for the Wallabies at times did fall behind Japan, so they were actually struggling a little bit with their kicking game. But the Wallabies forwards has put up a really good performance, really good set pieces. Decent scrummaging in the first half with Tong and Thor, but the second half fall apart a little bit. And you kind of really show that the Wallabies, without Samu Kerevi to break the defensive line, to get the Wallabies on the front foot, really makes a huge difference in terms of Wallabies' attack pattern. Wallabies just seems really flat at times, and instead of being able to break through the game line, Wallabies are trying to make those plays by forcing some of those passes, 50-50 passes, a little bit too much. Japan had a really excellent first half, and it was basically world-class. Very few missed tackles, world-class defense, extremely good all-round. The number 10 was, what's his name? We'll have a get it. So yeah, the Japanese number 10. Let me just quickly get his name up. So the number 10, yeah, Matsuda, he was in for Tamura. and he was kicking all the goals like slosh, like right on point. Was really, really good. World class performance for him in the first half. His kicking did fall apart a little bit in the second half, and Tamura did not come on at number 10 position. It looked like he came on at inside center. So they started playing like that second 5-8 kind of structure for the Japanese team, and Tamura kind of like took over the kicking late in the second half when Matsuda started missing his kick in the second half. Quaid as well, impeccable kicking in the first half, goal kicking, and then just fell apart in the second half. Was missing goals right in front of the post. Provided, a bit further away, but like 40-meter kicks right in front. It was like he went in the post actually. So it was a little bit disappointing to see that his kicking is falling off. Consistency is again an issue for Quay that he's always had in the past. I thought maybe with maturity that he would have got that out of his system, but still seems to be a big issue for him to be able to consistently perform at world-class levels week in, week out. So yeah, it's that's the thing that both teams needs to work on. In the second half also, the Japanese defense did fall apart a bit as well. So let's just go through the stats quickly. So in the end of the game, Japan 321, Australia 372. It was very close. Japan was within 4 points of winning the game. About 5 minutes left in the match before Australia finally sealed the game in the dying 2 minutes with a try, right? And then there was 77 carats, 119 for Australia. Like I said, many passes than Japan. 184 passes, 108. And some of these passes were probably a bit too... You probably should just held on to it. They really try to make a forcing plays when there isn't really anything happening. And also without Samakurevi getting over the game line, if you're just passing like back and forth between yourselves, you're just losing territory. You're not like resetting the attack line. You're just having people like standing flat, receiving the ball, and then getting immediately tackled, and sometimes behind the advantage line. And there were some passes as well from Wallabies were really like inaccurate. Like they would just pass, will go to no one, and then you end up like 20 meters behind the advantage line, the sort of thing. Just not really good, not very accurate in some of these passes. Probably try to push the game a little bit more than they should. Turnovers conceded, 12 for the Japan, 10 for the Wallabies. Tackled, 113 for Japan, made by Japan. 20 missed tackles. At halftime, I'll just read you the score here. I've got it here. Halftime, the tackle count was 54 for Japan, 52 to the Wallabies. 9 missed tackles to Japan, 4 missed tackles to the Wallabies. The Wallabies did not miss a single tackle in the second half. Japan really missed quite a bit in both halves. Probably should try to keep that a bit lower overall. But Wallabies really stepped up. No missed tackles in the second half at all. Turnovers, 1-5 to Japan, 9 to the Wallabies. Kicks in play. So in the first half, Wallabies were actually losing the kicking game a little bit. So Wallabies were... Japan was 11 kicks to Wallabies 8. And it did show a little bit. The Wallabies weren't able to get in attacking positions due to Japan's kicking game. Second half, Wallabies did pick that up a bit. So we ended up with 22 kicks to the Wallabies to Japan's 20. Especially towards the end of the game, the kicking game really started to get into... kick into gear for the Wallabies. In the last 5 minutes, Wallabies really managed to pinning Japan in their own half, really making sure they're not able to score and forcing a penalty to win the game. That's exactly what you kind of wanted to do to close out a game like this. The Rhys Hodge did get injured early in the first half with a bit of a shoulder injury, it looked like, but he is one of the biggest kicking game for, he provides the most important part of the kicking for Australia, like the long range return kicks. With him going, I think, who was at fullback? I think Callaway went to fullback, just didn't really have that range. So maybe that's one of the reasons why the kicking was struggling a little bit with Rhys Hodge out of the picture. Conversions, 1 missed conversions for Japan, and 4 for the Wallabies. That is not good. And the kicking conversions was perfect for the Wallabies in the first half. So really fell apart in the kicking, goal kicking in the second half. Breakdowns. Pretty decent for both sides. Lineouts, again, no lineouts lost in the first half of both teams, but in the second half, both teams are starting to struggle a little bit, especially the Wallabies lost 2 lineouts of their own with the reserve hooker coming on. Fainga R is really solid for Wallabies, but the reserve hooker position is still up for grabs for the Wallabies to see who wants to close that, to see who can actually step up for that spot. Scrums lost, I think he was 0 again in the first half, and then 1 loss in the second half against Wallabies, getting dominated when the reserve props came on, literally right away got a penalty. And I think that's the only time where Japan lost the scrum as well in the second half. There was one yellow card for Japan for a bit of a high shot for, what's his name? Lomani got sent off, a bit of a high shot. But yeah, that's kind of like what happened throughout the game. Let's go through the exact details of the match. Let's go through play by play. So right off the bat, the Wallabies, Japan, bit of back and forth, bit of kicking game going on. 7 minutes into the game, Wallabies are able to apply a bit of constant pressure, build some faces, and Quade Cooper got the ball. Again, a little bit flat. He kind of runs in the defensive line, and the defense kind of made a poor tackle, kind of got him by the foot. He didn't really make a break, but he did able to get his hand free, and Tom Wright just ran this beautiful line, unders line, cuts back in. Hooper just had a little pop offload. Tom Wright straight through, under the sticks. 0 points to 7 Wallabies on the board. So right away, it looked like that looked really easy for Wallabies to score that. Like the defense seemed to be a little bit of an issue there right away for Japan. So 5 minutes later on the 13th minute, Rhys Hodge looked like he injured his shoulder, taken off the field. This was pretty big for Australia. Jordan Patea comes on as on the wing position, and Andrew Callaway, I think, went to fullback. 2 minutes later, Japan finds a penalty right in front. And the Japanese number 10, Matsuda, kicks the 3 quite easily right in front. I was actually wondering why Matsuda was in the starting spot over Tomura, but he did show that he's world-class number 10 with the performance he put up in the first half, at least. Wallabies, a few minutes later, on the 21st minute, Wallabies had an opportunity for attacking line-out. Instead of opting for a 3 points, they opted for a line out. They set the line out for a more instant advantage, penalty advantage. Wallaby decided to spread the ball out wide, had a bit of play. Callaway, they just spread the ball out wide to Callaway. And Callaway managed to squeeze the ball to Patea out wide, goes in for a try. And this one was right on the sideline, and Quade Cooper slots this one quite easily. 14 points to 3. So, didn't look like Quade had his radar on, and that's, yeah. So he looked really good in kicking the first half. Like, this was a quite difficult kick. Need a bit of coffee for that. And then 3 minutes later, on the 25th minute, Japan fights back. Lots of pressure from Japan. A long pass to Lameki on the sideline, and then there was basically they kind of like spread the ball out wide to the sideline after a lot of pressure, many faces. And Lameki was on the sideline with Tom Wright in front of him. Looked like an easy tackle. He just kind of like bumped up Tom Wright and crashed over. So, yeah, this was, again, Wallabies only missed 4 tackles, and this one led to a try. So I was not very impressed. I was like, yeah, what's going on there, Tom? So Tom has a bit of a defensive thing he needs to work on with those situations. Like, it really looked like he should have just pushed him out from the sideline. To be stepped in a position like that when you're so close to the sideline is really like a bit of an amateur error in my opinion. 6 minutes later, Himeno-san! The big number 8 from Japan plays for the Highlanders, not the Chiefs. Gets a jackal penalty for Japan. And so there was, yes, for Japan. So penalty against Australia. And this was right in front. Probably like 40 minutes out or so. Matsuda kicks this quite easily. Gets Japan. Oh, sorry. I missed one. So on the 20th, so after Wallabies scores their second try, on the 4 minutes later, on the 25th minute, Japan fights back, really putting a lot of, yes, what am I doing? Let's go back. Himeno-san gets the penalty, Japan kicks the 3, 1 point behind, 14 points to 13. So this was on the 31st minute, right? So this game is starting to winding down. It's starting to look like, with Japan's defense looking pretty good, Wallabies really like missing some of this opportunity. It's starting to look like the halftime score is going to be 14 points to 13. Japan's only going to be 1 point behind. I was sweating, right? On the dying minute of the game, Wallabies were able to put a lot of pressure on Japan. And Japan was holding on, and eventually giving away a penalty. And the clock was up on the 40th minute. So Cooper takes the 3, slots that one in. 17 points to 13, halftime. And yeah, that looked a bit more comfortable with a 4-point lead. But I did not expect Japan to put up such a good fight in the first half. There was a lot of sport handling errors for the Wallabies. Probably lost the kicking a little bit in the first half. And yeah. So second half starts. I thought, well, Wallabies better come out swinging. The game is up for grabs. Whichever team comes out stronger is probably going to close out the game, right? And sure enough, Wallabies did come out really swinging for the fences. On the 2 minutes into the second half, on the 42nd minute, Wallabies has an attacking line out, not far, about 22 meters out from Japan's try line. The ball comes in. They did a bit of a nice little tricky play. Throws the ball back into Faenga in the train tracks, in the 5 meter tracks basically. He kind of like run a bit of a nice offloading between the players. Eventually the ball gets to the Tongan Thor, crashes over for the try. He was just too big, too strong. Kept the legs pumping, goes over for the try. Emphatic try for the Wallabies. Straight out of the shed. 22 points to 13. This was a similar position on the sideline for Quaid. Missed this one. 5 minutes later, there was a lot more pressure from the Wallabies. Going for trying to maybe looking like they're going to put on more tries against Japan. And Lomani Lemeki puts on a bit of a high shot accidentally on the Wallaby player. Gets a yellow card. So Wallabies has a one-man advantage for about 10 minutes, for the next 10 minutes. 5 minutes later, finally Wallabies were able to break through the Japanese defense with some really nice offloads. So there was basically like a halfway point. Jordan Bate gets the ball. He kind of like, again, got grabbed at the ankles, wasn't going anywhere. He offloads infield to Tom Wright, who runs through a little bit and little pop pass to Nick White. Nick White gets the ball, chips the ball over. Nick White runs. It's actually this one here, right? This is the ball. This is the try we're talking about. Nick White kicks the ball over. He recovers the ball. It looked like Nick White wasn't gonna get it. He looked like he was really like slow. He gets, but anyway, the ball bounces perfectly for him. He gets the ball. He gets tackled, and then the ball comes out quickly. Japanese defense was just scrambling back at this point, and then the Wallabies had big numbers out wide. They just spread the ball out wide. Bit of like, I would say this was a sloppy kind of hands. Like everyone's kind of just trying to get a ball out wide with whatever passes they got. Like Quay had a bit of a weird flick pass. Everybody was just like basketball throwing the ball out wide. Eventually gets to Eventually gets to Rob Leota on the wing. I think he received the pass from Faenga as well. And he gets the ball, runs in for the try for the Wallabies. Wallabies did not convert this one again. This was on the sideline. Another missed kick for Cooper. So Wallabies were up 27 points to 13, right? And then a minute later, Wallabies were straight from the kickoff. Basically, Wallabies were giving away a penalty for an opportunity for Japan to kick for 3. This was a kickable 3 that Masada gets. Is it Masada? Yeah, he is his name. What's his name? Matsuda he has got the kicks from the similar position in the first half, but he misses this one. However, they did have someone in the bin, so just running down the clock a little bit is kind of like what they were aiming for anyway. So 2 minutes later, Australia trying to run the ball. So following this kick, Australia trying to, since he missed, the ball didn't go out. Wallabies gets the ball, tries to run the ball out of their own half. They got to about the 22 meter mark. Quay Cooper throws a sloppy long pass. Everyone and their grandma can catch this one. It was floating in the air like he was playing frisbee, right? Like ultimate frisbee. It was floating. The ball looked like it was a frisbee floating in the air, drifting towards the defense line. And sure enough, what's his name? Nakamura sees this, runs up, the number 12, runs up, catches the ball, straight through, try Japan. And Japan hits straight back up from this one. They get the conversion because it was right in front. Suddenly Japan is back 27 points to 20 with only 7 points behind. And then Japan really stepped up the hit after this try was scored with their player back onto the field. Lots of pressure, including a tight head wing Japan in the second half when the Wallabies reserves came on. There were times where they had opportunity to kick 3 points. We're right in front inside the Wallabies half, and they opted for lineouts to go for the try, and they were snuffed out by the Wallabies defense. Really, really, really excellent defense. Some of the best defense Wallabies has put up. This might be the best defense stats for the Wallabies this year so far. Maybe similar. Yeah, I think the South African games have it a little bit worse in terms of percentage. So eventually, on the 69th minute, Wallabies able to get a scrum penalty, a return scrum penalty against Japan. Quay Cooper has an opportunity to convert, kick 3 points right in front, but this was like 45 meters out. He kicks conversion, hits the post, and the ball ricocheted sideways, went out 5 meters in a Japanese 5 meter line. So Japan has to do a defensive line out in the 5 meter line out. But that didn't really, Wallabies weren't able to apply enough pressure to get a return points there. So a missed opportunity there for Wallabies on the 69th minute. Wallabies, and then after this kick, I think Quay came off, and James O'Connor is on the field. Wallabies looking a little bit shaky, giving away breakdown penalties in the next 5 minutes or so. And Japan is looking like they could potentially pull it a massive upset. It was only about 5 minutes left on the clock. I thought Japan might go for another try here because there's about 5 minutes left, and they've already tried a few times, and they kind of like missed the opportunities. But Japan thought, yeah, okay, we're gonna close the gap down to 4. So they take the 3 here. So I'm not really sure why they did this. I thought this probably is the better opportunity to go for a try. So anyway, they kicked the 3, which was quite kickable. Yeah, this was a kickable range. And Tamura came on to take the kick at inside center position. So Matsuda is still on the field, but Tamura does to take the kick. Closes the gap to 4 points with less than 5 minutes left on the clock. And from this, I was seriously thinking this could be history in the making. Australia could be the next nation to fall to Japan, provided that not very impressive anymore because Australia is a Tier 2 nation. The tiny island rugby nation of Australia could be the next one to fall to Japan. But with the last 5 minutes, Wallabies really managed it quite well. They were able to really dominate the kicking game a little bit, pinning Japan in their own half. So eventually, Japan was forced to try to run the ball out from inside their own 22, and then Robert Valentini gets the penalty. And I thought, well, the Wallabies surely would just take the 3 here with about 3 minutes left on the clock. Nope. Wallabies sets up for a line out, and instead of taking 3, sets up for a line out. A line out comes in for a perfectly set up more, and the debutant McInerney gets McInerney. Anyway, debutant comes on, hooker gets the ball at the back of the maul, runs in for a try, and Wallabies close this one out. Missed the conversion again. I think this was O'Connor taking the kick. Missed the conversion from the sideline. So again, the goal kicking is an issue resurfacing again for the Wallabies. I am a little bit concerned. And closing the game 32 points to 23. So Wallabies could be further ahead if they had landed more of their conversions. Really let themselves down. Japan, really, really good effort. And Wallabies, very, very good defense. Really didn't give up Japan that many opportunities except that first try and that intercept pass. Outside of those, the Japan really didn't have much going for them in terms of attacking. But yeah, this was much closer than I had expected due to a lot of Wallabies' own issues with goal kicking and handling errors. So yeah, I was. Did any of you guys have a heart attack, or was it just me? I thought I might have passed out towards the end there. But anyway, guys, thank you for watching my video. If you like my content, comment, and subscribe. Feel free to buy me a coffee by hitting the join button down below. And see you guys tomorrow morning for the All Blacks versus USA game. Appreciate you being here. Thank you for watching, and have a nice day.